Hello all, A Knife's Tale here, with a knife review, surprise. Today we're going to be looking at the Wii knife company, Esprit, designed by, oh, you can't even see that. There it is, Ray Laconico. This is a full titanium frame lock with a very attractive, very nice textured orange peel in 20 CV blade steel, thumb studs, on bearings. And the pocket clip is deep carry. So, let's get through to the specs real fast. About 3¼ inch blade. The overall length is, I think at its most, it's just shy of 7½ inches long. And just shy of 4¼ Yeah, that adds up. Good. At least I'm not losing my mind. Comparisons real quick. Civivi Elementum for the small knife. And in a very lackluster display today, because it did not want to, it should have just flopped out open. It didn't make its nice ting that it normally does. In fact, there we go. Much better. The Civivi Conspirator for the full-size knife comparison. As you can see, this thing falls basically in the middle. It is kind of closer to the Elementum a little bit, but it falls pretty much in the middle as a good, really good EDC knife. I will say, to be mentioned, it's not super thick in height in closed or open position. It's about comparable to the Conspirator. It is also thinner than the Conspirator, and this is contoured titanium. It's almost, I think, as thin as the Elementum. Yeah, very, very close. Also to be noted is that this is a Civivi knife, this is a Wii knife, and they are the same company. This is the budget or mid-tier of Wii, and the Wii's the premium versions. So they're siblings of sorts. Since we were talking about thickness, let's get through to thickness. 440 thousandths. Okay, so I think that's a tiny bit thicker than the Elementum. Hey, cooperate. Yeah, okay. The blade steel stock is 126, so 125. And behind the edge, it's got a pretty small edge bevel, so I'm assuming it's pretty thin behind it. That's not on the edge. No, I'm slipping off. The edge bevel is so small that it's kind of making it difficult. $13 thousandths? I'm comfortable with that. It's pretty thin behind the edge. It's quite thin behind the edge. It is a good cutter, even though it doesn't have the longest drop. It's surprisingly thin, and it performs well. Hardware check. We got T8 pivot, T8 lock bar, T8 body screws. The clip are the only T6s, and you never have to touch them because it's not reversible. So, fine. Good on you. We get rid of the T6s in general, but yeah, this is, if you're going to use them, this is the best way to do it. Weight. 3.67 ounces. So, it's not quite an ounce an inch, but it's not far off. And for a full titanium frame lock, that's not bad. It is milled out inside, which you can see right there. So I think we're pretty much done with the specs. As you can see, the deployment is thumb stud and front flipper. It's not the most... The jimping on the front flipper is not great. That said, I mean, you got a lot of front flipper there. It's not hard in any way, shape, or form to do. In fact, I can do pretty much any kind of front flip I want on this thing. No problem. even if the jimping's not great. A reverse flick is also similarly quite easy. Good detent, but not too strong either. It is straight, centered. There is no play on this knife. And while it's not drop shut, it is a light shake shut. It's not from the newer batch of Wii's from the last year or two that are really, really good action, where they're all like basically drop shut. This is back a few years ago when they were a little bit tighter consistently in the pivot, but it's not bad by any means. It's still really, really good. It is on bearings, and the blade is thankfully sterile, which Wii does a lot, and is why I really like a lot of their knives, I think, because they keep their blades so sterile and just put their logo on the pivot or the clip or something. And this logo is so minimal and so abstract, I don't mind it. I mean, the most that's on the blade is Laconico's name. And he's a custom knife maker that does a lot of designs that are very minimalist and efficient. And they're good designs, honestly. Like this one is very ergonomic. It's very comfortable. In fact, for a deep carry clip, it is titanium. It is milled, technically, but a deep carry style clip. This is super comfortable. You have no problems here. I barely feel it. It's ultra comfortable in the hand. The ergos are fantastic, pretty darn neutral, and you can do what you need with this thing. Also, in and out of the pocket, it's pretty good. The flat screws, Wii likes doing that little flat bell on the end of their clips. I don't like that. I haven't found it to be a problem for this knife, so it is what it is. Also, another interesting to note is, you don't see this a lot, but the body screws are just here, and they're drilled completely through. You can see them. That's something you usually start seeing more often on more expensive knives. Higher tier, maybe some customs and stuff, where the knife just sort of, you see the end of the screw. The knife, not the screw is what I'm talking about. And it's a good way to really just sink it straight in and screw it into the titanium. There is a lanyard hole and a backspacer on this knife. And the screws also go through that. The plunge grind on the Esprit is right here. About right here. It could be better. It's not bad. They've left you a little bit of life to sharpen. And it's relatively thin with a small, low edge bevel. And it's probably 20 degrees per side. I wish companies would start telling us what they're sharpening these knives to, just for convenience. And heck, just when you're looking at a knife, if you can see that it has a tiny edge bevel and it's like 25 degrees per side, it's like, okay, yeah, that's probably not that thin. But if it's got a tiny edge bevel and it's 15 degrees per side, then yeah, you've got a thin blade. It just gives us more information. I would like to see it. Lock bar access. It's not cut back too far, but it's very easy to access. It is milled a little bit. I do find it to be a little bit better. I mean, you can come from the side, but it's not super comfortable. You just have to go in a little bit at it. And if you want to know why I didn't just drop there, I was on the back of the tang. Speaking of the back of the tang, here's the part I don't like. Here's the part I don't want to talk about. I'm trying to avoid, honestly. Look where the stop pin is. Right behind the edge. And it doesn't look like it's that close behind the edge, but if you look at it, see that little line right there? Yeah, that's where the stop pin hits. That's really, really bad. That is in a position where cutting in a choil, you can do it, but you have to stay up here if you're going to cut in a choil. Or a sharpening tool to expand it once you've sharpened up the blade. There's not enough life on this blade, and when you hit this point, when you've got it up here, you're getting already into really dangerous territory. That's a decent amount of steel. It's going to last you a few sharpens, sure, certainly. But there is a very real expiration date unless you have the means and know-how and want to try to put in a choil up front. Maybe even extend this choil. So you could probably get a finger choil on there and you'd probably be safer because you would have to cut into like that. It's going to look a little weird, but you cannot touch this, which is right there. Which is way, way, way too close to the edge. Basically, this knife has a very limited lifespan. And that really upsets me because, yes, you could look at this knife as a seldom used sort of gentlemanly knife. It is quite nice and refined looking. But it's also a knife that feels like it wants to be used. It feels like a design that wants to be used. And I'm personally hesitant to use this knife too much because once I get sharpening it, it's going to come to the end of its life quickly. This is unacceptable and happens on way, way too many knives. This is planned obsolescence, basically. You start getting near this, and you probably don't want to keep sharpening unless you know you can cut in a very precise choil in front of that. And it really hurts me because I really like this knife. Right? It's very nice. I also like Ray Laconico's designs a lot. However, the more of his designs I see, the more I see that there's a decent frequency with his designs that the stop pin is there. I don't know if that's him or the company's translating his designs. But I believe that the Rosalind from Monterey Bay Knives also suffers from the same stop pin placement. I don't know how bad it is on that knife. I don't have that knife. But I'm pretty sure it's right there. I don't like seeing that. I've seen it on a couple of his designs, budget, and even more expensive knives. I think it's something that needs to be addressed. I think it's really holding back his stuff for me, because I like his designs. But that stop pin seems to be a problem on a number of them. I will say the MBK, Monterey Bay Knives, also has the slayback, which is one of his designs, which is a flipper, and that has no problem whatsoever because it's got a flipper there. You can't have that problem. So you're fine. But I'm hoping someone either starts addressing this more with the companies, or if this is Laconico submitting these designs as with the stop pins there that are just being executed, someone needs to mention that to him because I love his work. It hurts. And honestly, it's for that reason that this is not really something I'm going to put as a recommendable knife. If you're looking at this thing and you say, I love it, I just want a gentleman carry it, very rarely, not going to be hard using this thing, go for it. But this knife wants to be used. It just feels like it. The good and bad thing of this knife is that it's not super readily available. This variant and the Tiger Stripe titanium variant, they've been out for a few years, and they're pretty rarely in stock, as far as I can tell. They might be in stock in a few places, but I know that some of the main ones I look at, they are not. There are the carbon fiber show-side scale variants in a bead blast and a black wash blade. They're available, I think. But they're not super readily available. Honestly, an updated version of this with a little bit more lock bar access, maybe the change to that, and a change to that clip, some different jimping, and a internal stop pin would just absolutely kill for this knife. That would be fantastic. But we don't have that. That's just kind of a hope. For now, I can't recommend it. I will say that the price is good on it. It's about $220. Every variant, as far as I can tell, is about $220. It's always been that. But I can't recommend it. I love the knife. I like that I have it. I'm glad I have it. But it's not something I'm going to be using a lot. So it even makes it a little difficult to review because I have no idea how this 20CV performs. Wheeze isn't bad. It's low industry standard 60 or 59 to 61, I think, which is, yeah, everyone wants to see 60 to 62, no doubt. But well, I mean 61 to 63 would be, whoa, that would be great. But honestly, just change it to S90V and be happy with your with your average of 60, because that performs better at 60. That would be the optimal outcome. But yeah, it's not going in my recommended list. It's a good knife, but it has a major flaw, and it kills it. It really does. So that's everything I have to say about this one. Like and subscribe if you want. Thanks for watching. If you have, comment. What are your thoughts? I think these were pretty popular. Do you have one of them? Do you have any experience with them? Has yours hit its lifespan? Has it not been a problem because the edge bevel is so small it's not really taking away much steel? I don't know. Leave your thoughts. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.